Okay, so now that we have the housings hollowed out, it's time to create the hatch cover and deflection room. Right, so in this episode we're going to be making the board's hatch cover, we're going to be creating the deflection room, and we're going to be putting studs in. It's going to be quite a lengthy episode, I suppose, all in all. But let's get started. We're going to be creating the actual hatch. It's a fiberglass hatch cover. And as I spoke about in an earlier episode, you can see on my hatch covers there's an indentation which allows one to accommodate a thicker battery, preferably a 4-cell if you're going big. And the reason for that is my goal is to keep the board's thickness down to a minimum of 30 millimeters, and that minimum really is governed by the leverage of the servo over here. If I could go thinner, perhaps I would, but unfortunately I'm even using a park size servo here, and the leverage lever you can see over here still limits me to a thickness of 30 millimeters. Now that said, if your battery's a bit thicker, you've got a bit of a problem, and if you had to simply increase the thickness of the board by 5 mil, which wouldn't mean much, but if you worked it out on a percentage scale, you'd be increasing the thickness of a board from 30 to 35 millimeters, could be as much as 20% in the overall thickness of the board, which would mean that your board would have 20% more buoyancy, which would mean that your board would need more dead weight to drop the rail in the water to help it with its writing process. So what I choose to do is to put a indentation in the hatch cover, preferably the size of the biggest, widest, longest battery, and simply done by, you can see a mold here. This is a 10mm sheet of glass. I've used a piece of perspex, just profiled it and stuck it on with a double-sided, very thin double-sided tape. Fill it in around the edge with some plasticine neatly, and then give it a couple of layers, the molds, give them a couple of layers of ram wax. This is a ram wax product. Coated with a PVA membrane, and then we can start the layup, and we'll work through it as we go along. Just to make sure when you do this that the area is going to be big enough to create your hatch, and then we just got to give this mold coats with a partial drying in between. Make sure you get your wax everywhere. I use a 450 gram woven cloth for the hatch cover. 8 layers to be precise. You want your hatch cover to be as rigid as possible. So just to make double sure that we're going to have a good release on our mold surfaces, I'm now going to apply, after those layers of wax, I'm now going to apply a PVA release agent. It's actually a water-based product, so you can clean the brush off the water when you're done. With this I'm just going to paint onto the surface of the mold and then let it dry like a membrane. Alrighty then. So to start with, we're going to put a layer of colored gel coat down, just so that the inside of the hatch cover has got a nice, smooth, glossy finish, so that we can form good profile around the insert. Just make it look good. So I'm using a clear gel coat with pigment, color infused pigment. You can buy standard gel coats off the shelf in most shops. applied, we leave it to cure to a sort of tacky feel. Gel coat doesn't actually dry out as such, it remains tacky so that your lamination will to it nicely. It dries obviously on the reverse side of the mold. If it's exposed to the surface like this, it will remain tacky, not too thick. Try and make sure your application is consistent. Right, happy with that. I'll leave the gel coat to set. It'll probably take about half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour perhaps. Just it's not such a hot day today. I'm going to leave it out on the bench here, and then we'll start applying our layers of laminate. Right, let's check our gel coat. Here it's tacky. No gel on my finger. That's how you want it to be. Nice and tacky. Ready to be laminated. Right, so we start the lamination off with a laminating resin. Once again, I've added my pigment color to this resin. I mix up a cupful, and what I do, because of the process taking a bit longer, I just decant it into smaller amounts so that it doesn't all go off on me at the same time. So now we're going to be laminating 8 layers of cloth over the gel coat. Over the profile, we'll just push this down nicely. You can see because of the gel coat's there, it's got a slight tack, we can get it down nicely. Flat. And start wetting it out. Just like to brush it on. Do this all in one process, the 8 layers. The final layer covers the decals. So 8 layers. Really nicely. Putting it up. Final layer. 4-ounce layer on top of that. Decals on first. Just use your wife's mystery credit card. Just to give it nice and flat. Right, so here we have our 8 layers of 450 gram lamination, making for a nice structurally strong and stiff hatch cover. Our next step is going to be, once this is sort of tack dry, place our decals and put a clear layer over that with the 4-ounce cloth. Right, so our lamination is nice and touch dry, a little bit tacky, which is good. Decals that we're going to be applying to the hatch cover. This is my recycle logo, and really just to promote recycling around the world with our global issues, but also just to say that Part of our mission statement with the rcSurfer is to build something that you can use over and over and over again. So let's hopefully ensure that we live up to that. We're going to be putting a piece of 4-ounce cloth over the top. Just going to mix up some sanding resin for that. Right, so this time we've mixed up a sanding resin. This is our final coat. We don't want this to remain tacky. Just going to wet this area out here where the decals are going to go. Get them positioned nicely. So there we have our 4-ounce. You can see the texture I like to have. We have our 4-ounce cloth laid up. We have our decals. Those are going to be in the center of the hatch cover. For most of it, Bro's feet will be over the front and back decal, just to add a bit of texture. We have the red one. We had a little bit of the red pull through on the yellow here, but that's not a problem because we're going to have Bro's foot on that. So red's being a very strong color, pulling through the screen printed yellow there. But yeah, looking very cool. We'll leave that to set and we'll be able to demold it and then shape the actual profile of the hatch cover.